Hey everybody, welcome to this week's video. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes. We are going to cover a very controversial subject, one that's probably going to garner more comments. We're covering chemical versus natural controls for problems in the landscape. I am glad you're here. I think we should get started. So, Maestro.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back. Hey, you know, a couple years ago, and I'll put a link to it right up here, I did a video on lawn substitutes, and it was a very well-received, mostly, video. Probably, I think it's our highest ranking video that we have out there right now, over 100,000 views. But embedded in that video was some controversy. Well, let's talk about the conversion. And you're gonna convert it to a lawnless landscape to start saving some money on water bills, saving some time in maintenance, and eventually lowering your water bill and your maintenance time by a drastic amount. So conversions generally start with spraying and killing of the existing lawn. If you happen to have a turf that has a multitude of grass species in it, like you have some fescue, you got some bluegrass, you got some ryegrass, you got some Bermuda, really encourage you to spray and kill that lawn so that you get a good kill not only above ground but also down below ground. If you have any sort of lawn grass that is kind of rhizomic like Bermuda or zoysia or centipede grass, these kind of things kind of spread underneath ground and pop up. And if you went in there with just a pick and shovel and started taking it all out, you could get it all out initially, but those rhizomes that are underneath the grass, sometimes inches, sometimes up to 18 inches, are going to pop back and going to pop back relatively quickly right in the middle of your new lawn substitute area. So kill it well. And I've heard just about enough of the controversy that I thought I would make this video and tell you kind of where I'm coming from when I'm talking about poisons in the landscape, and how I am not really a proponent of poisons, chemicals, or like one person said, pesticides for killing weeds. It's actually called herbicides or herbicides, not pesticides. Well, you know, to tell you the truth, and I know that I'm a stranger to you guys on YouTube, but if you followed me for any length of time, you don't hear me talk about all kinds of chemicals all the time. It was one or two videos as a way of succeeding in a landscape project when other ways would not. And it's also, today's video is going to give you a clue as to why I do speak to the chemical role versus the au naturel role of weed control, etc. I kind of look at myself as a very pragmatic type of guy when it comes to the use of chemicals anywhere in the world, including my own body, including my vehicles, my life, the clothes I wear, etc. You know, I'm kind of sensitive to it, but I'm also a realist as well. Now, when it came to being a professional, a landscape professional, you enter into a realm that is no longer a hobby. It's no longer a unlimited amount of time to apply some type of hobby activity, maybe creating a garden, or maybe creating a new perennial bed, or maybe creating anything to do with homeowner landscape application. I was a professional. I made my living at it. And many decades ago, Mama Coach told me, anything in moderation, son, is probably going to be okay. Well, yes and no. When it comes to chemicals, moderation is beyond the levels that I would often use. I was a minimalist when it came to chemical usage. Now I'm going to tell you the only chemicals I ever used as a professional landscaper. Mostly I used a chemical, and you have to remember that my second generation of my business, when I jumped in for a while, then I stopped and pursued something else, and then I jumped back in again. And when I jumped back in, we were in the height of the California drought. and a lot of landscapers were hurting. And I found a niche market that was basically taking out people's thirsty lawns. And those thirsty lawns were generally 90% Bermuda grass or Bermuda grass infested. Now, when you look at it from a professional's eyeballs, we're not there to put black plastic over it. We're not there to smother it in cardboard. We're not there to take a backhoe to it and dig down 3 feet or more, which is how deep Bermuda grass roots and rhizomes go, in order to 100% effectively control it and remove it. My reputation as a businessman, as a contractor, as a landscape professional was on the line every time I stepped on someone's property. And I had to assure myself and them that what I was going to be doing to their property was going to be safe, sane, done correctly, and done in a safe, professional manner, period. It's just the way I operated. So in using this chemical, I sprayed hundreds of Bermuda grass lawns. And when I say Bermuda grass, it was often a Bermuda grass mix. You know, it had some bluegrass in it, it had some fescue in it, it had Bermuda in it. The older neighborhoods, predominantly that I worked in, it was almost 100% Bermuda grass in some places. The chemical that I used was glyphosate, better known as Roundup. And after the patent ran out, there was many other names that was attached to the same type of chemical. No, I'm not sponsored in any way by Monsanto. I'm not. And I'm not part of any class action lawsuit regarding Roundup and its use. No, I'm not. But the one thing that I did is I approached it in a very minimalistic way. I knew the MSDS pretty darn well, and I knew that if I used right around 5 to 6 ounces per gallon, and I sprayed the Bermuda lawn once, maybe twice, depending on the thickness of it, I knew I was guaranteed a very long-term kill of that area. And then I would come back a few weeks later, depending on the temperature and time of year, and I would sod cut by machine that lawn out of there. Then I would do my amending and designing and bouldering and cobbling and planting, and the end result during that phase of my business, lawnless landscaping, turned out pretty darn good. And there was no reinfestation. Now, can you imagine as a professional and as the relationship with a customer who's paying me tens of thousands of dollars to do a backyard, front yard landscape, or both? And I just came in and sod cutted it out of there. And I came in with my boulders, I came in with my new lawn, and I slapped everything together and put new irrigation and lighting and everything else that I did in. And within 3 months, all of a sudden that Bermuda grass started to join the outside world again. When it was down deep, underground, that no one could see, guaranteed, my phone for callbacks would be ringing off the hook, and my reputation would just spiral. Not to say that there aren't a lot of pseudo-professionals, a lot of handymen, a lot of people that think they know about landscaping, don't still exist out there, and would just go about cutting it out and starting and doing whatever. And then 3 to 4 months down the road, when everything else starts popping up and infesting all that thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work, you think you can get a hold of them? You think you could ring up their phone and they'd be there that afternoon to take care of the problem? And if so, how would they take care of it now that the brand new ground covers and perennials and everything else that are in there and now infested with Bermuda grass? Yeah, chances are they wouldn't be. They'd be down the road, gone in another business. Who knows what they would be doing? But hey, I kind of staked my reputation on a long-term business model, and so I had to do it, and I had to do it right. And oftentimes that meant I had to use chemicals. Now, in my use, did I saturate the soils? Did I spray their dog and kids? You know, did I saturate everything to the point where I would have poisoned all the natural organisms in the landscape projects area? Hell no. No, I would not. You know, most of the people, most DIYers are probably not going to do that step. They're not going to spray it. They're going to get out there and they're going to be au naturel, so they're going to take a pick or a sod cutter and just cut it out. And even if you did it during dormant winter season, if you happen to be in an area where it's kind of mild, it's not snow covered, you can get out there and work 12 months out of the year, many DIYers are going to miss that step. And then they're not going to understand by the following summer, after they've done their spring project, why in Sam Hill is their Bermuda grass coming back? I took it out. Well, things just don't work that way. They really don't. So glyphosate was my chemical of choice. It is a translocative, systemic killing herbicide, not pesticide, okay? And I used it once or twice on any one job, and that was it. I used it at Weed Patch Ranch when I had to landscape that better part of 1.5 out of 2 acres. And it worked out really well. I would treat the area that I was going to attack that particular month, and it would kill everything off, and I would come back and either sod cut the area out with a combination of Bermuda grass and weeds and whatnot, and then I would move on with my project. I'd move on with irrigation or whatever I needed to do. And it was a safe and sane way to achieve landscape success. And that is the whole purpose of this channel, is for the DIYer, the informed, knowledgeable DIYer, to be able to take on a whole landscape makeover in the various phases and steps that it has to be done and achieve success, not failure in any way, shape, or form. So, not only glyphosate, but let me talk about some other chemicals that I have used in my personal and professional career. I've used copper oil sprays as a dormant spray for peaches and nectarines. I have used neem oil, which is almost hardly a chemical at all, but we'll classify it as a chemical for the sake of discussion. I used neem oil on some roses and some other things when the hard water sprays just didn't keep the aphids off the knockout roses at the first bloom in the spring. So I come back with something with a little more punch to it. I'll tell you what I did use most for most of my weed control in my personal landscape. It's this guy right here. And this one right here. A hula hoe and an old worn out trenching shovel. And I would go out in the cool parts of the evening or morning and I would just knock them down. Now, did I do that in the olive orchard? No, I didn't. I would do a spring spray in and around, knock down all the stuff that was coming up that wanted to regenerate, and then I'd mow the aisles in between. And that's how I farmed, and that's how I landscaped. And you know something? The only place that I really didn't spray was in and around the orchard areas that I had on the property and the vegetable garden. I didn't spray there. You know, I had a raised bed vegetable garden. I could have sprayed that area, but I did not. I didn't. So the pragmatic part of the approach to chemical usage is very, very minimal in my eye. So back to the professional part of it. In a contractual business, whether it be landscape contracting, general contracting, a framer, a plumber, an electrician, time is everything to us. It is the be-all and end-all. How can we go do a job, any job? How long will it take? How much materials am I going to need to acquire in order to complete it completely and professionally, and then move on to another job? A homeowner, someone who's going to do their own thing, and I'm going to talk about weed control and landscaping. The average homeowner has the time to apply black plastic and try a solarizing weed control. But I'll tell you a little secret. Bermuda grass and some other rhizomic type of grasses, centipede grass, etc., will absolutely laugh at you. They will come up right to the surface after the green stuff has died, and you pull your plastic back, you go, oh, look at it, that coach guy, he doesn't know crap. Look at all this dead grass. Put that black plastic back over it and give it a month, and you'll watch new stolons come up, and they will run right underneath that black plastic, God's sakes, don't use clear plastic because it's like a greenhouse effect. It'll grow like crazy. And you'll see it. It'll run and pop out underneath the black plastic. Same thing with cardboard. You have to understand that the sterilization of the soil is only going to be for insect life, worm life, maybe if it's hot enough, some seed degradation that's just underneath the surface. And I'm talking only about an inch or two. You're not going to get a super deep sterilizing as a result of using black plastic. You just won't. And if there are some of you people out there, please, I invite you to email me or comment below how you did it, because I haven't seen it. In over 20 years of horticultural practice, I have not seen black plastic or cardboard or mulch take care of something like Bermuda grass. I just haven't. If you have, congratulations. But I don't think so. I really don't. So if I wanted to do it a complete way, I could have rented a backhoe. I could have brought a backhoe to the job site. I could have dug out all of this Bermuda grass lawn from customers' places and throw it into an expensive dump truck and haul it to an expensive landfill, and it would have 10x'd the cost of the job. And it would have put me right out of a competitive level of getting the job in the first place. Would it have done it without the use of chemicals? Yep. But I would have had to import in new soils and composts and created a whole new soil environment in there after I destroyed and removed all the soil environment that was there in the first place. So it's really kind of a push me, pull you type of thought process. That's why I think this video is a little bit polarizing. You're either gonna go one direction or you're gonna go another direction. So am I truly a believer of weed control using natural means? Yes, I am. You won't be able to achieve it really well on a large scale. You know, most of the time, the people that I'm speaking with, the DIY homeowner, certainly an agricultural person that is having to treat a new field so that they can till it and plant an orchard or plant a crop, yeah, you're not going to see them out there with a pick and a shovel. They're probably going to have it professionally treated and then let it sit fallow and then come back and till it and get it ready for the following year. Now, if you really want to have something that's going to bake your biscuit, try this on for size. When I was in the business, I had a friend named Ken. Ken was a professional fumigator, and his market was produce. And he would go to the various ports in Northern California and some of the big produce warehouses in the Central Valley. I can remember having a meal or two with Ken and how he used to laugh at the organic approach to the produce aisles at various retail grocery stores. And I said, well, what do you mean organic? He says, Matt, do you realize that when everything comes to the retail end of the produce world, whether it is imported from overseas or another country, or it is taken from the field and prepared at the warehouses, they all have to go through an extreme fumigation process and a washing process before it is put out there for human consumption. And I see all the time fruits and veggies that come from South America during the time where the northern latitudes don't have them, but the southern latitudes do. And they're supposed to be labeled organic. But by US law, importation laws, we still have to fumigate them. And we fumigate them with methyl bromide. And then they get washed, they get packaged, they're made all nice and pretty, they're put in boxes and sent to the local grocery store, who takes it and puts it out on the organic shelves. He says it's kind of a farce. My eyes were kind of wide open at that point. I'm going, well, then how can they call it organic? And he said, exactly. So, something to think about. There are chemicals in our world that are supposedly beneficial, and there are chemicals in our world that are harmful when used incorrectly or overused. And I guess that's my whole point about this video, is the overuse, the repeated use of one particular type of herbicide or pesticide over and over and over again would bring the average individual to the point that says, oh, you know, that guy's just a proponent of poison on this earth. What I do think is a well thought out, well planned out approach to either a landscape project or landscape maintenance so that you can achieve the type of landscape success you're searching for is really all you need. And God gave us that wonderful thing called free will. And if you decide to do some due diligence and you just don't want to have an ounce of chemical anywhere near your yard, so be it. Your neighbor next door probably is, but if you don't, that's okay. And that's my whole point. It's okay, but you have to understand that the speed at which professionals have to move through jobs and get things done and make a living does not avail themselves to a multi-month weed control using the products that I talked about, cardboard and plastic. So for some that are on channels and they're scoffing at people that have used chemicals or talk about chemicals or whatever, I'll also bet that a lot of them are DIY homeowners and golf clap again. It's exactly who I'm talking with, but they're also scoffing at something maybe that they don't totally understand. They only know how they apply their hobby trade to their own yard. And maybe they're, hands off of anything in a brown bottle or a plastic bottle. And they would never think about mixing up anything to kill off anything. But you'll jump in the shower and you'll use soaps and detergents to wash your dishes and all that other kind of stuff. So, hey, to each their own. But I also believe that those people are the same people that do not share with me and other professionals the responsibility and the professional level of care that we have to apply in our trade in order to do business with people and achieve a professional result of going in and doing landscape makeovers, modernizing and making things look a lot better. Sometimes in the right way, at the right time, using the right protective gear with the right discussion with the customer, chemicals are probably going to come out of the truck. It's just the way it is. And yeah, there'll probably be some comments and there'll probably be some more ridicule, and that's okay. But maybe some of you kind of went, okay, I can see where Coach is coming from a little bit. I may not subscribe to it, or I understand it and I may subscribe to it. And I may use it once or twice in order to achieve what I'm trying to do out in the backyard this spring. But there are going to be those times when I'm educating the general public on landscape success. And I really want to emphasize that second word, success. I'm not here to be a proponent really of anything. I'm here to show you all the tools that you can use to achieve your landscape success. You can do your own due diligence. You're able to go out there and look and research and look at all the safety data and decide what kind of personal protective equipment. I have seen professionals out there in shorts and flip-flops applying Roundup in the past. I have. I didn't much care for it. I thought it sent the wrong message, but I did see them do it. I used PPE in the form of long sleeves, gloves, glasses, and boots and pants, and then those things would go into the washer when I got home. Oh my God, Coach! Jeez, then you wash your clothes and it went into the septic system? Oh my God, more poisons everywhere. Thank you, Ange. Okay, so we're surrounded by chemicals in our everyday life, and if you don't think you aren't, please look into it a little bit more and maybe raise your level of awareness. But used properly, used minimally, and used in the right application, they sure did work for me. And I'm sure they've worked for hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people around the world. Just don't overuse it. Don't abuse it. Use it correctly. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Protect your pets, your kids, and the guy next door. Let them know that what you're doing. Now, in a particular concentration, when you spray Roundup, killing off a lawn or killing off a weedy area that you're going to convert to something else, You will know it when the sun hits it and heats it up. It doesn't stink, but it does have kind of a distinctive aroma, and it goes away and dissipates in a matter of a few hours. Stay off of it. Stay away from it for a couple of days. You will see in the hotter parts of the year when you use it, you will see it take effect rather quickly on the surface. It does not mean that it's taking care of everything underground just yet. That's why you have to wait 7 to 10 days. So when it comes to chemicals versus natural controls, there's another thing called permaculture. Permaculture is a nice buzzword that's used out there now in a lot of gardening applications, and it's when you're not controlling the weeds and you're using hand controls and you're using double diggings and you're turning stuff over and you're just not disturbing the soils very much. You're using the soil and its whole biome intact. And I understand it. You know, I do. Do I agree with it? Most of it, I do. Yes, most of it. But people who practice that particular way of gardening, you know, they have a particular look to their landscape. And some people like that, and some people do not. I'm a blend of both. I like to have a very nice ornamental landscape that has all the pretties and all the fluff, and it shows off the effort that I've put into it. And then there's other parts like the olive orchard that I had that was kind of rustic. You know, it was mowed, it was full of weeds, it was full of Bermuda grass, but I kept it under control and it still produced beautifully. It really did. So most of you that I speak with, you are free to go about doing your gardening and landscaping tasks however you want. You're free to be able to succeed, you're free to fail, you're free to experiment. That's why, you know, when you decide to go down the path you want to go down, hey, you're free to do it. But understand, as a coach, as an educator, I can't always give you the perfect natural solution to everything, the easy way out, so to speak. There's going to be times where you're going to have to work freaking hard. You're going to sweat. You're going to hurt. And yeah, every once in a while, you might have to use a chemical to achieve that landscape success. And if you want to go dig out 1,000 square feet of Bermuda lawn and replace it with something else, have at it. Do it. Pick and shovel. There you go. Just make sure you get every single rhizome out of that ground, or you'll be back in 6 months with the same problem again. I'm Matt. You can call me Coach. I hope you got a little something out of this, and you also found out where I kind of stand on the chemical side of things and the au-natural side of things. I go by a minimalization, period. That's all it is. Use what you need to use at a minimal amount and call it good. Hey guys, I'll see you next week. If you stuck around this long, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe. YourYardCoach.com. Believe it or not, in the ebook and the course, I do talk about chemical control, and you'll learn just a little bit more, but kind of along the same lines. Hey, and don't forget the Amazon page. I do appreciate the people reaching out this past week. I appreciate your patronage and trust always. And if you have any long verbose type of comments or questions, feel free to email them to me. YourYardCoach@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to answer every single one of them. Hey guys, until next week, as always, to your landscape success, naturally or with a little bit of technological help. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.